Hey guys, welcome back. So I'm sure you see it in the title, I'm making a Catio today. I'm following a video that Evan and Katelyn did on their channel, I'll link it below, and I'm using that as my guide when doing the Catio, but I'm doing things a little bit different. I'm not going to make the top of the Catio angled like the way they did. I really like how they did that, but I don't trust myself to cut the right angles to make that line up properly, so I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to make the top of it flat. So since my birthday fell during quarantine and the plans that Shane had for me couldn't happen because of quarantine, he got me stuff to build a Catio for my birthday. So we borrowed a couple tools, I got a couple of new tools, and I'm really excited, so wish me luck, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright, so I started by measuring and cutting all of the 1x2s. I used 1x2 pine for this. And I didn't get it on video, but I just used a miter saw to cut these. Just a hand saw, I don't have an electric one. Then once everything was cut to the size I need, I just started drilling my pocket holes in everything where I needed them. The pocket hole jig actually came with its own clamp, but I didn't know how to use it at first, so I used this one initially when I recorded in the beginning, but I figured it out. Once I actually started using the clamp that comes with the Craig jig, it was actually a lot easier to clamp and unclamp these because these clamps started to hurt my hand after a bit. And man, these things make so much sawdust. And of course, after all the pocket holes were drilled, it was time to screw everything together. And here I am sitting on the floor and just attaching all of the pieces together. Like I put the base together and the sides together first, and then I'm figuring out how to attach them. And I didn't want to do this outside where I would have more space because it's so hot outside. So I'm just sitting in this cramped little space in weird positions, just putting everything together. I get so excited when I can actually see the frame coming along and it's starting to look like something. Just ignore the messy back porch. The amount of dog fur is insane. But anyways, it was time to bring it outside now that everything was attached together, and I'm just putting it in place here just to make sure that it fits and see what else, if I need to make any adjustments at this point or anything. So what I'm doing here is just drilling a couple of holes in the top so that way I can attach magnets to hold the acrylic on later on. And then I proceed to spray paint it black, and it's getting dark at this point. Alright, so it is day 2, and I can't finish it because not all of the parts are here. Let me show you the progress of it so far. Alright, so this is what we're looking at so far. I spray painted it black. There's a couple of parts underneath that are still white, but you can see, I don't know if you can actually see it right now, it's really bright out here, but those are going to be underneath and you won't see them, so I didn't really worry too much about that. And yes, one of the legs is longer than the other, but that's on purpose because basically it's being installed in this window and one of the legs comes to on the porch and the other one is going to be right there. So on that leg I have this little foot thing. That one's still drying. I sprayed it today. So that is a little foot thing which has like a little screw on foot, and it's going to go right here so it can extend in the dirt and stuff. And this is the foot. The other one should be fine because it's gonna be actually sitting on the porch. So I was gonna put a foot on that one too, and I made one for it. That's why I also drilled pocket holes into this one for the foot, but it turns out I didn't really need them because of the length that I cut it. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could always cut it shorter and then do it, but then I'd have to drill the pocket holes again, and whatever. Who cares? So that's what it is so far. What I'm going to do today, hopefully get done before work, is install the floor. So this piece is the bottom right here. So I'm going to install the floor, and then once I get the mesh in, I'll install that around here, and then this part is the top, and that's going to have clear acrylic. So that's the plan as of right now. And let me show you what we're using for the floor. Oh my gosh, it's hot outside. Okay, so this is what we're using for the floor. We have this left over from when I did Shane's desk. That's left over from when I did his desk. It's like 12 feet long, and the top part is countertop from IKEA, and so I made that. But yeah, that's left over. Sorry, ignore the mess. Anyways, so basically what I'm going to be doing is cutting this to size to fit in there, and this isn't quite long enough to fit, but I have this piece and this other piece, which I was using to cut things on. Whoops. This other piece, it's upside down. So out of these two pieces together, then we'll be able to make them fit. So I spray painted this last night, and you could tell that it was getting late and it had been such a long day, and I just didn't care anymore, so I spray painted it on the porch. I feel like I would have normally laid something down or sprayed it, somewhere else, but I was like, meh, I'm tired, don't care anymore, so that happened. So here I'm using the circular saw to cut the floor pieces, and we borrowed this because I don't have my own circular saw. I wish, maybe at some point, but that's what I'm doing here, is just cutting the floor pieces and then fitting them into place. Do you think Zara knows it's for her? So once I have the floor pieces clamped, then I started screwing everything into the base. Alright, well, I'm basically dead. I'm so sweaty, I'm so red, and pretty much done with all the stuff I have to do outside. Oh my god, I'm so red. Hey Google, what's the temperature outside right now?
In San Antonio, it's currently 96 degrees. Due to the current humidity, it feels like it's 104.
Jeez, it's hot. Alright, so it's day 3, and I've got to cut a little bit off of the length of the acrylic, so I'm just marking where I want it to be cut. And then I am clamping down a piece of wood over it just to make it easier to score. What I'm going to be using is a box cutter, and then I just score it probably about 8 to 12 times on each side of the acrylic so that it's scored on both sides, and it will be easier when I go to snap it. After I've got it all scored, to snap it, I'm gonna do sort of the same thing where I clamp it down with the wood over it, and then I just put pressure and snap it. Really? You're a brat. Trying to make you something nice. So once I get all of the mesh into place where I want it, I start stapling the mesh into the frame, and this staple gun is really difficult to use for me just because my hands are so weak and probably too small for it. I feel like I need a baby size one or something, because yeah, it took a lot of effort to be able to do this. Like, as you can see, I can't do it one-handed. I have to use both hands every time. And then once everything is stapled into place, I use the box cutter again and I just cut off the excess. And then the reason it's overlapped on this side is because it wasn't quite enough to go all the way around the 3 sides. As you can see, it's about 6 inches too short on this side. So what I did was cut off, used a piece from the bottom that I had cut off, and it fit on this side. So it's just overlapped here, and then I'm stapling everything down. And once it's all stapled, it's just the final piece of cutting all the excess mesh off. And then I just colored each staple in with a black Sharpie, so it sort of blends into the mesh a little better. The actual kitty door finally arrived when I was working that day, so then I installed that. It's not ready yet, baby. Almost. Almost. I just gotta install it outside. I know. You're gonna love it. Now that the inside piece is installed, I just cut the screen on the outside to fit the opening. I had Shane help me when we were positioning it to make sure that it was positioned properly, and then we are using 3M tape to attach it to the side of the house. It's a really heavy-duty double-sided tape. And then the last piece we have to do is put the acrylic top on and use the magnets to secure it. The magnets are also really heavy duty, and they were really hard to get apart. Since the cats have never used a cat door before, I tape it open for a little bit just so they can get used to actually going into it. You wanna go outside and look in? Hi, Menchie. What do you think? Yeah, the top is clear, but you can't get out. Oh. Tesla, don't hit her. Hey! What? You wanted it too? Here, go ahead. You can come back in if you want. The next thing I want to do is actually remove my craft bin right from below the window and add a shelf right below there, so it kind of extends the ledge a little bit for them, so that way they can just have an easier time getting in and out of the kitty door. and we're letting them get used to using the kitty door just by coming back inside on their own. So it takes them a little bit each time to figure it out, but then they come back inside. Well, there you have it. The cats finally have their very own Catio, and they really do seem to enjoy it when they're in there. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment and let me know what you think.